And we continue studying simulation exam number 1, chapters 3 and 4. Question 60. A sales associate is directly affected by one of the administrative guidelines. Who should they file a complaint with? The answer is the FREC. Question 61. A sales associate works for a real estate development corporation in Florida. This corporation has a subsidiary with another entity that just completed a development in Florida located 200 miles south of the first project. How could the sales associate legally work for both entities at the same time? So basically, this means a sales associate works for a developer who owns 2 different projects. Now, how can that sales associate legally work for both entities at the same time? The answer is with a group license. Option A says, the developer must make clear the relationship between both resorts, and the sales associate will be issued a group license. That's correct. Now let's compare with option B. Option B says, the developer must make clear the relationship between both resorts, and the sales associate will work using their conventional license. That's not allowed. They cannot use a regular license in this case. It must be a group license. That little detail is what makes the difference. Question 62. The Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC, imposed a $1,000 fine on a real estate licensee and placed their license on conditional status as a result of a violation of Florida Statute 475. In which of these areas of responsibility does FREC's authority to impose discipline fall under? Now, in which area of responsibility does FREC's authority to impose this type of discipline fall? Here's the key. When FREC is investigating, that's executive power. But in this case, they are punishing. They imposed a fine. They sanctioned the licensee. They put the license on probation. Who punishes? Judges. But since FREC is not a court, we don't call it judicial power. Instead, we call it quasi-judicial power. So the correct answer is quasi-judicial. Question 63. Under certain circumstances, the real estate law allows a broker to appoint one sales associate to represent the seller and another to represent the buyer. As long as all requirements are met, the sales associate would be called. Now, the moment you see the word represent, you should immediately think of a single agent relationship. And remember, a single agent cannot represent both parties in the same transaction. That would be dual agency, and in Florida, dual agency is illegal in residential real estate. But here's the catch. The question doesn't say in all circumstances. It says under certain circumstances. And yes, there is one special exception where this is legal. That exception is called designated sales associates. Here's how it works. In a non-residential transaction, when both the buyer and the seller each have assets of $1 million or more, the broker can designate 2 sales associates, one to represent the buyer and the other to represent the seller, as single agents. So, while dual agency is always illegal in residential transactions, this special case in commercial transactions is legal, and it's called designated sales associates. Question 64. If a broker is aware of a construction lien on a property, this type of question can be asked in different ways, but the principle is always the same. If you know something negative about the property, you must disclose it, and you must disclose it as early as possible. Let's go through the options. The broker must tell the buyer. That's too generic, doesn't specify when. The broker must disclose it before closing. Too late, the buyer should know long before. The broker should not disclose the lien. Completely wrong, that would be a violation. The broker must inform the buyer before starting the contract. That's the right answer. So remember, when in doubt, disclose it, and disclose it early. Question 65. Broker Smith is selling lots for construction and offers each buyer the opportunity to purchase a lottery ticket for $5. If 20 lots are sold by the end of the week, the winner would be entitled to half the price of their lot. At the end of the week, only 16 lots were sold, so Smith decides to return the $5 to the participants. Which of the following alternatives is correct? Now, here's the key. Using a lottery, game of chance, or gimmick to sell real estate is illegal in Florida. Even if Smith returned the money, the violation already occurred. So let's check the answers. Smith is violating the law because he carried out a lottery, trick, or scheme. Correct. Smith is not violating the law because the money was refunded. Wrong, the law was broken already. This is not a violation of Chapter 475. Incorrect, it's exactly a violation of Chapter 475. It would only be a violation if Smith gave the discount to the lottery winner. Also wrong. It's the act of using a lottery that's the violation, not the outcome. So the correct answer is A. Smith violated the law by conducting a lottery scheme. Question 66. A seller lists a property at $75,000, but tells the broker they would accept as low as $72,000. Which of the following alternatives is the most accurate? Now, in the real exam, this won't be a short two-line question. It will be a long story with names, situations, and extra details. But you need to cut through the fluff and get to the core. The property is listed at $75,000, but the seller says he's willing to accept $72,000. Here's the rule. A transaction broker has limited confidentiality. That means the licensee cannot disclose the true motivations of the client, such as the lowest price a seller would accept. So even if you know the seller is okay with $72,000, you cannot tell the buyer, go ahead and offer less. That would be a violation of confidentiality. The correct answer is A. The broker cannot disclose the lower price to the buyer. Question 67. The broker's responsibilities to the principal consist of obtaining. Now, here's the key. Whenever you see the word principal, immediately think single agent relationship. You don't need the question to spell it out. If it says principal, you switch to single agent mode. A single agent represents only one party in the transaction. Never both. Representing both would be dual agency, which is illegal in Florida. As a single agent, the broker owes full loyalty, obedience, and confidentiality to the principal. So, which responsibility is correct? Getting the highest price? Not necessarily. If you represent the buyer, the highest price would hurt them. Getting the lowest price? Same thing. It depends on who you represent. Getting the best price? Yes, that's the correct answer. Best price applies regardless of whether you represent the buyer or the seller. The correct answer is B, the best price. Question 68. A fiduciary relationship is formed. Whenever you see this question on the exam and it mentions a fiduciary relationship, immediately connect it with an exclusive agent, or in Florida terms, a single agent. A fiduciary relationship exists when the parties deal with loyalty, impartiality, and good faith. The correct answer is B. Question 69. In a real estate transaction, it is expected that the seller and the buyer will have a relationship based on, and here, the answer is not fiduciary. Between seller and buyer, their interests are opposite. So, what type of relationship do they have? It's called an arm's length relationship, meaning good faith between the parties, but at the same time, they are negotiating against each other. The correct answer is an arm's length relationship.